My name doesn't matter, man. But what I saw in that downtown office on March 15th, 2024, matters to everyone. Everyone thinks the street war tearing Chicago's South Side apart is about territory, about respect, about the game. That's the first lie they want you to believe. I was a gangster disciple soldier for 11 years, rose to enforcer, saw things that would make your blood freeze. But nothing prepared me for the moment. I watched my boss, the most feared man on the South Side, walk into a conference room and bow his head to a white man in a $5,000 suit who'd never set foot in the hood. Before I tell you this story, before I show you who really runs the streets of Chicago, I need you to do something. Hit that subscribe button right now. Because channels like mine don't last long when we expose the truth. The algorithm tries to bury us. Powerful people don't want this information out there, and I don't know how much time I have left. Subscribe, turn on notifications, and share this with everyone who needs to hear it. Because once you understand what I'm about to tell you, you'll never look at gang violence the same way again. I was born in 1996 in Englewood, South Side, Chicago. It's not just a poor neighborhood, man. It's a war zone disguised as a community where gunshots are more common than birdsong, and every corner has a memorial for someone who didn't make it past 25. My father bounced when I was 3. My mother Sharon worked 2 jobs, cleaning offices downtown during the day and stocking shelves at Walmart at night. I'd watch her leave at 5 a.m. with bags under her eyes so dark they looked like bruises, and come back at midnight with feet so swollen she could barely take off her shoes. We lived on $1,800 a month. Rent was $950. There were weeks we survived on ramen noodles and whatever free lunch I could get at school. I remember being 11 years old, stomach growling so loud in class that kids would laugh. I remember my mother crying quietly in the bathroom because she didn't have enough money to buy my little sister a winter coat. Hunger changes you. It creates a rage that never goes away, a burning need to never feel that helpless again. In Englewood, the only government that worked was the gang. The GD ran our blocks tight. When Mrs. Johnson's house got broken into, the GD found the die and handled it. When families couldn't afford Christmas presents, the GD showed up with toys and food. The police only came through to harass people or roll up 6 deep with rifles drawn like we were terrorists. They didn't protect us, they occupied us. I was 14 when everything changed. My little sister got pneumonia that turned worse. The free clinic gave useless antibiotics. We waited 11 hours in the ER watching my sister struggle to breathe, only for a doctor to spend 5 minutes with us and send us home with the same prescription. That's when Big Mike stepped in. He was the GD shot caller for our area. He heard about my sister, showed up at our door with $800 cash, and the name of a real doctor. My sister got better. Big Mike saved her life while the system had left her to die. A week later, he asked me if I wanted to make real money, enough to make sure my family never went hungry again. I didn't think twice. I said yes. They started me as a lookout. Stand on the corner, watch for police, hit the radio if anything looked wrong. I got paid $300 a week. More money than I'd ever seen. More than my mother made working 70 hours a week. The first time I handed my mother $200, the look on her face broke me and rebuilt me. I felt like I'd finally protected my family. By 16, I was running packages. By 17, they gave me a gun. That first piece felt like it weighed 1,000 pounds, not because of the metal, but because of what it meant. I wasn't a kid anymore. I was a soldier. I saw my first body at 17. A kid from the Black Pea Stones got caught at the gas station. 3 shots in broad daylight. He just collapsed like someone had cut his strings. I threw up in the alley. One of the older guys told me it gets easier. He was right. That's the part that should scare you. The first body haunts you, the second bothers you, by the 5th you're stepping over it to get a sandwich. You become a monster in tiny increments until you wake up and realize you're not the same person anymore. By 20, I was deep in. I'd caught my first body, handled collections, managed corner boys. I was making $2,000 a week. We moved into a small house. My sister was in a good school. My mother quit one of her jobs. The promotion to enforcer came when I was 22. I worked directly under Big Mike, handled disputes, delivered messages, made examples when necessary. I thought I was close to the top of the food chain. I thought Big Mike was the king, and I was becoming one of his generals. I had no idea how small our world really was. Everything changed on March 15, 2024. I was 28. Had been in the GD for 11 years. Big Mike called me that morning, told me to suit up in actual suit clothes. We had a meeting downtown in the Loop, the financial district where people who look like us only appear as janitors. The address was a high-rise on West Monroe Street, all glass and steel. We rode the elevator to the 47th floor in silence. Big Mike had a look I'd never seen before. Tense, alert, like he was about to meet someone even he had to respect. The conference room had floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the city. From up there, the south side spread below us like a peaceful map. The distance made it all look manageable, under control. 3 white men in expensive suits were waiting. One stood up when we entered. Tall, silver hair, wire-rimmed glasses, expensive watch. He looked like every corporate executive you've seen on TV. And then it happened. Big Mike, the man I'd seen kill people with his bare hands, walked up to this stranger and lowered his head. A gesture of deference. His voice was different, softer, almost submissive. The man barely acknowledged him, just gestured to chairs while scrolling through his phone. My mind was screaming. Who was this guy? Why was Big Mike treating him like the boss? The meeting lasted 90 minutes. They didn't talk about drugs or guns. They talked about property values, development projects, tax zones, and displacement metrics. The man showed spreadsheets, graphs, colored maps of the South Side, divided into sections. One map showed our territory, marked in red, but they weren't labeled as streets. They were labeled as Phase 2 Acquisition Zone. If you're still watching, you need to understand something. What I'm about to tell you is why they want me dead. Hit that like button, drop a comment, and share this video. The algorithm buries content like this, but every share helps more people see the truth. The story gets darker from here. The man talked about how current violence levels were optimal for their timeline. How negative perception was driving property values down exactly as projected. He talked about insurance claims, police reports, media coverage, like they were business metrics. Then he pulled up a list of names: Black Pea Stones shot callers, our rivals. Next to each name was an address, a date, and a dollar amount. He explained these were high-priority targets, whose removal would destabilize the rival organization and escalate conflict where they needed more pressure. He talked about human beings like obstacles to be removed, problems to be solved. Big Mike listened, nodding, asking practical questions about timing. He wasn't shocked. This was normal business for him. The pieces fell into place. All the random violence, the senseless shootings, the territories we'd hit that didn't make strategic sense. It had all been choreographed. We thought we were fighting for respect and survival. We were actually fighting to lower property values, so these men could buy up the South Side for pennies on the dollar. The meeting ended with handshakes. The man told Big Mike the investors were very pleased. He handed over a manila envelope full of cash. Payment for services rendered. On the drive back, Big Mike cut me off before I could ask questions. He said what I saw stayed between us, that the less I knew the better, but I could hear shame in his voice. He was ashamed and trying to hide it behind authority. I sat in silence, seeing everything differently now. Every boarded-up building, every vacant lot, every memorial, they weren't accidents. They were planned, calculated, part of someone's spreadsheet. We weren't gangsters. We were demolition crews destroying our own neighborhoods, so someone else could rebuild them and make billions. After that meeting, I couldn't unsee it. The violence always spiked in specific areas that would show up in the news 6 months later as new development sites. The city would announce urban renewal initiatives, luxury apartments, always in the exact spots where we'd been most active. I started recognizing faces at meetings, city officials in casual clothes, cops who weren't there to arrest anyone, businessmen exchanging envelopes. Everyone was getting paid. The police weren't our enemies, they were partners. They'd bust small-time dealers for cameras, but real operations ran untouched. Sometimes they'd even provide security. In exchange they got cash and arrests that made them look good. Politicians were worse. They'd give speeches about fighting gang violence, while meeting with the same developers paying us to make neighborhoods unlivable. They'd pass zoning laws, approve projects, redirect police resources, all while pretending to solve a problem they were profiting from. The real genius was the narrative. Everyone saw what they were supposed to see. Gang violence, thugs, people who wouldn't help themselves. No one asked why violence concentrated in specific areas. No one questioned why development projects always followed the worst violence. The people who lived there didn't get jobs. They got displaced. A studio in the new buildings cost more than most neighborhood families made in a month. The corner store got replaced by an organic juice bar. The community got erased and replaced by something profitable for people who'd never struggled. And we were the tools. Every shot we fired, every body that dropped, it was making someone rich. Someone who'd never set foot in our neighborhood, except to tour property they planned to buy. I thought about my sister. I'd joined to protect her, give her a better life. But what future was I building? One where her neighborhood got destroyed so rich people could move in. The money started feeling dirty. Every dollar had manipulated me into destroying my own community. I was making $2,000 a week, but at what cost? How many families displaced because of violence I participated in? I started having nightmares about that conference room, that map, those calm voices discussing human beings like numbers on a spreadsheet. The casual cruelty was worse than any street violence. At least on the streets there was emotion. In that room, only cold calculation. The breaking point came in November 2024. Big Mike called me to handle a problem. Marcus, who'd been in the GD since we were kids, we'd come up together, had each other's backs through everything. Marcus was solid, loyal, one of the real ones. But Marcus had started asking questions. He'd noticed the same patterns, started wondering why we were hitting areas that didn't make strategic sense. He'd mentioned it at a party, and someone reported it. Now his name was on a list. Big Mike handed me the file like a business memo. Marcus was a liability. He knew too much, talked too much. The decision was made. I just had to carry it out. I sat there holding surveillance photos of my friend going about his life, with no idea his days were numbered. The file included his routine, his family's addresses, the best times to make it happen. All laid out like a project plan. This was my moment to choose. Pull the trigger like a good soldier, or refuse and become the next name in a folder. No middle ground. I told Big Mike I'd handle it, took the folder and left, hands shaking. I went home and stared at those papers for hours. Marcus's face in surveillance photos. His mother's address listed as leverage. His 6-year-old daughter marked as a vulnerability. They'd thought of everything. I realized I was crying. First time in years, not just for Marcus, but for all of it. For every person used and disposed of. For every neighborhood destroyed in the name of progress. For every kid like I used to be who'd get pulled into this system, thinking they were becoming powerful, when really they were just hammers breaking their own communities. That night, I met Marcus at our old hangout spot. I told him everything. The meeting, the developers, the real estate scheme. He listened in silence, then nodded like it confirmed something he'd suspected. We made a plan. Both of us would disappear. We had money saved, connections outside Chicago. We could rebuild somewhere else, start over clean. It was a good plan. It might have even worked. But someone was watching. Someone was always watching. I moved fast, packed a bag with clothes, cash, fake ID, left my mother a note, kissed my sleeping sister goodbye, knowing I'd probably never see her again. Marcus and I agreed to meet at Union Station, catch separate trains to Denver. I never made it. 2 blocks from my house, a black SUV pulled up. I saw guns before faces. I ran, used every trick I'd learned in 11 years. But these weren't police. These were professionals. They cornered me in an alley. 3 of them, private security types who don't ask questions. They threw me in the SUV and drove back downtown to that same high-rise. This time to the 52nd floor. The office was bigger. The man behind the desk was older. White hair, same expensive suit, same cold authority. He didn't introduce himself, just told me he knew about my conversation with Marcus. He knew about our plan. He knew everything, because they always knew everything. Then he showed me photos. My mother at the grocery store. My sister walking to school. Marcus's family at church. All of them being watched, documented, turned into leverage. The message was clear. I could run, but I couldn't hide. And if I ran, everyone I loved would pay. He offered a choice. Come back. Continue the work, ask no questions, and everyone stays safe. Or refuse and watch everyone I cared about suffer. It wasn't a choice. It was an illusion. He told me Marcus had already been handled. Found in his car that morning. Random carjacking gone wrong. Just another gang member dead. Another statistic. His family would grieve. The neighborhood would forget. The machine would keep turning. Marcus was gone. My friend, my brother, dead because he'd asked questions. And I was next, unless I submitted completely. The man stood at his window looking out at the city. He told me the beautiful thing about Chicago was that it was always changing. Buildings rose and fell. Neighborhoods transformed. The only constant was the people who controlled the change, who profited from every cycle of destruction and renewal. He made it sound like a good thing, like we were heroes instead of traitors. That was 10 months ago. I'm 29 now. I'm back on the South Side playing my part. But I'm hollow inside, a puppet doing what I'm told because the alternative is death for everyone I love. I stood at Marcus's funeral in the back of the church. watched his mother collapse at the casket, saw his daughter holding her grandmother's leg, too young to understand Daddy was never coming home. I did that. My questions, my inability to shut up, that's what got him killed. I attend meetings, take orders, carry out operations. I help identify areas for increased activity, neighborhoods where property values need to drop faster. I'm better at it now because I understand the real goal. The violence has gotten worse. The South Side is bleeding, and I'm one of the ones holding the knife. Every week there's another shooting, another memorial. The reporters show up, film crying mothers, then leave to write stories about urban decay. No one investigates the development projects that follow. No one questions the investors who buy property at rock-bottom prices. The story makes too much sense. Bad neighborhoods breed violence. Violence drives down values. Low values attract investors. Investment brings renewal. It's a perfect circle, and we're the fuel. Last week they broke ground on a new luxury development in Inglewood, right where Mrs. Johnson's house used to be. She's gone now, moved to Indiana after her son got shot outside her house. Had to sell for whatever she could get. The developer was at the ceremony talking about creating opportunities. He wore a $3,000 suit and a smile that never reached his eyes. I recognized him from meetings. He knew exactly why Mrs. Johnson sold cheap, because he'd paid for the violence that drove her out. I'm making this confession because I'm out of options. I'm dead already, just still walking around. Marcus tried to ask questions and they killed him. I've seen too much. My name is probably already in a folder somewhere. But people need to know the truth. Not just about Chicago, but about how this works everywhere. The pattern repeats in every major city. The players change, but the game is the same. Gangs don't exist in a vacuum. We're created, maintained, and manipulated by people who profit from our violence. The war on drugs, the tough-on-crime politics, the media coverage that paints us as animals, it's all part of the same system. As long as people are scared of us, the real criminals keep getting rich. The developers, the politicians, the investors, they're the ones who should be in prison. They're orchestrating the real crimes. We're just soldiers following orders we don't understand, fighting wars that profit everyone except us. I thought I was protecting my family by joining the GD. The truth is, I was being used as a weapon against my own community. Every dollar they paid me was an investment in keeping me violent and unquestioning. Every promotion was a leash getting shorter. My mother still doesn't know what I really do. My sister is in college studying to be a teacher, wants to help kids in neighborhoods like ours. She has no idea her education was funded by blood money, that her dreams were built on destroying other people's lives. If you're thinking about joining a gang, understand this: you won't be different. The system is designed to use you up and throw you away. You'll think you're gaining power when really you're just being given rope to hang yourself. And if you're watching from outside, understand that the violence you see isn't random. It's not culture or pathology. It's a business model. It's deliberate, and it's being done by people who'd never let their own neighborhoods be treated the same way. The real gang members wear suits. They carry briefcases instead of guns. They kill with policies and investments instead of bullets. And they're never held accountable because no one wants to believe that violence destroying poor neighborhoods is being orchestrated by rich people in boardrooms. But I'm telling you now, I've seen it. I've been part of it. And I'm done pretending it's anything other than what it is. This is my confession. The truth that got Marcus killed and will probably get me killed too. But at least it's out there now. The puppet masters of Chicago's South Side aren't who you think they are. They're not the gang leaders or street soldiers. They're the men in suits on the 47th floor, moving us like pieces on a board, profiting from our violence while their hands stay clean. Until people understand that, until people see who's really pulling the strings, nothing will change. We'll keep killing each other while they keep getting rich. The neighborhoods will keep getting destroyed while they keep getting rebuilt for someone else. The cycle will continue because that's what it was designed to do. I don't expect to survive telling this story, but I needed to tell it anyway. For Marcus, for Mrs. Johnson, for every kid growing up in neighborhoods being systematically destroyed, for everyone who deserves to know the violence isn't random, the poverty isn't inevitable, and the people responsible are the last ones anyone suspects. My name still doesn't matter, but the truth matters, and now you know it.